Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to explore an intriguing and somewhat unsettling conversation with James Cameron, the visionary filmmaker behind the Terminator. Nearly 40 years ago, Cameron created a fictional world where autonomous machines rebel against humanity. Back then, it was a captivating sci-fi concept. Now, though, Cameron's concerns about AI have shifted from the realm of fiction to genuine, pressing reality. During a recent discussion, Cameron shared his thoughts on the risks of AI and robotics, and the conversation took a serious turn. Despite his usual enthusiasm for technology's potential, his concerns are now rooted in real possibilities rather than imagination. He's no longer scripting a blockbuster. He's asking us to consider the future we're actually building. Let's consider how quickly AI is advancing on the battlefield. Cameron points out that warfare has already shifted with the introduction of drones. Some highly sophisticated, others surprisingly simple, like consumer-grade devices. These drones are reshaping the battlefield, a far cry from the kind of conflicts we saw even a decade ago. Right now, there's a critical safeguard in place: human oversight. A person still decides whether to pull the trigger, so to speak. But Cameron urges us to imagine a future where that safeguard no longer exists, where machines make these decisions autonomously. He's clear on this point. Giving AI's kill authority is no longer just a hypothetical, it's a genuine possibility. He questions whether we really want machines making life and death decisions without empathy or a moral compass. This shift raises a fundamental question about ethics. In traditional warfare, ethical responsibility is shared up the chain of command, from the decision-makers to the soldier in the field. But if we delegate life and death decisions to autonomous systems, who holds the moral responsibility when something goes wrong? Cameron warns that AI might soon outpace human capability, not only in physical tasks but also in decision-making speed and precision. But while machines don't hesitate or experience fear, they also don't value human life beyond data points, and they certainly don't weigh moral considerations. The complexity grows when we consider that not all nations share the same ethical concerns. Cameron points out that in a global arms race, countries with strong ethical principles could find themselves at a disadvantage if others deploy AI weaponry without hesitation. This disparity might force even morally conscious nations to make compromises they wouldn't otherwise consider. Looking ahead, Cameron touches on a topic that takes us beyond the battlefield to the very nature of intelligence. As AI advances toward the concept of artificial general intelligence, or AGI, Cameron envisions that such a system would reflect our own humanity back to us, both the good and the bad. He draws a stark reminder. If AGI is ever achieved, it may be good to the extent that we are good and evil to the extent that we are evil. And here, he recalls Asimov's famous 3 laws of robotics, which many have imagined as a way to keep AI in check. Yet Cameron quickly shatters that idealized vision. If we, as humans, regularly bend or break moral rules in the name of security, justice, or war, how can we expect an AGI to uphold an unbreakable moral code? The implications are unsettling. Placing AGI on the battlefield could mean handing over control to a system that might make its own judgments about whose lives have value. What's perhaps most alarming is where this technology might come from. Cameron points out that AGI might not be developed by government bodies, who are accountable to the public. Instead, it's more likely that private tech companies, driven by profit motives rather than public interest, will lead the charge. Imagine AGI shaped by corporate priorities rather than societal ideals, a technology that influences governments, markets, and even our perception of reality, all driven by stakeholders with different goals than the public. Cameron argues that this scenario could be more frightening than the Terminator's Skynet, not because it would launch missiles, but because it could change society in subtle, pervasive ways. Perhaps Cameron was too optimistic in his original story. Skynet's intentions were clear and direct. But in our real world, AI control could seep in under the guise of convenience and efficiency until it's too late to reverse course. Despite this, Cameron doesn't believe AI is inherently a force to be feared. He sees its promise in areas like art, science, storytelling, and exploration. Instead of opposing AI outright, he urges us to approach it responsibly, with a well-defined ethical framework that steers us away from potential dangers. I'm bullish on AI, Cameron admits, but not so keen on AGI. And he leaves us with a question that's as thought-provoking as it is urgent. Are we ready to see ourselves reflected in the machines we create? And if we don't like what we see, Are we willing to change ourselves before it's too late? As we continue developing AI, it's essential that we consider these questions, not just as technologists or citizens, but as a society. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Tech Frontiers, the lectures. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Tech Frontiers, where you'll find our latest podcast episodes and lecture series. Thank you for listening, and stay curious about the future.